Okay, so what if I told you that right now, like this very second, there is a hidden world inside of you? And I'm not talking about, your organs, your blood cells. I mean, a world you can't see with your eyes, you can't touch, but it might actually be more real than the chair you're sitting in. And what if getting to that world wasn't just about feeling good or meditating for 5 minutes, but was actually the control panel for everything that happens to you in physical reality?
That is a hook that really grabs you.
Right.
It forces you to just stop and question the baseline of your daily experience. It suggests the dashboard for your life isn't out there in the world, but, hidden somewhere inside.
It would definitely grabbed me, even if my skepticism meter started, well, it started twitching immediately. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are wrestling with a text that is, it's a departure for us.
A big one.
We're looking at The Hidden World and the Mirror of the Divine by Mark Charles. Now, you know me, I love a peer-reviewed study. I find a lot of comfort in a well-organized spreadsheet.
You do.
Yeah.
You love a graph with a clear X and Y axis.
Yeah.
You want the world to be quantifiable.
I really do. And this is not that. This reads less like a scientific paper and more like a manifesto from someone who has lived about 12 different lives and is trying to cram the secrets of the universe into just a few pages.
Yeah.
It's metaphysics, it's self-help, and it's some very intense personal mysticism all thrown into a blender.
It's a wild mix. But that's exactly why we chose it for a deep dive. Our mission today is to look past the colorful language and see if there's a coherent argument about human potential here. Charles isn't just telling stories. He's arguing that we have this innate magic that we essentially unlearn as we grow up.
And he claims he has the roadmap to get it back.
Exactly.
Right. And before we get into the heavy philosophy, the energy mechanics, and the God mirrors, we have to talk about the author himself. Because usually when we introduce a source, we say, this is Dr. So-and-so from Harvard or something like that. Mark Charles does list credentials, but they are, let's just say, eclectic.
Eclectic is a very polite way of putting it. But his background is actually crucial to understanding why he wrote this.
He starts off normal enough. He positions himself as a naturally psychic individual, which, okay, that's subjective. We see that in this genre. But then he describes his professional life as being an independent scientist and inventor. And he specifically cites Nikola Tesla as his inspiration.
And that Tesla connection is a really important signal to the reader. I mean, think about who Tesla was. He's the archetype of the mad genius, right? The outsider who understood invisible forces like electricity and vibration when the establishment was still catching up. By invoking Tesla, Charles is basically telling us, I value innovation and invisible mechanics over institutional dogma. He claims to be building these systems to heal the world, but he says he's doing it behind the scenes.
Yeah, he says part of the world is now ready to know these models and the other half is not. Which I have to be honest, that triggers my skepticism a bit. It's a classic trope, the secret knowledge for the initiated.
It is a trope.
It's like, I have the cure, but you aren't cool enough to see it yet.
I get that, but it also creates a sense of urgency, and exclusivity for the listener.
Yeah.
It implies that if you're listening to this, you are part of the group that is ready. It frames you not as a passive consumer, but as a participant in something unfolding.
Fair enough. It hooks you in. But where his resume goes from unconventional scientist to full-blown esoteric is when he starts listing his qualifications. And he's not talking about degrees he earned in the 1990s. He's talking about degrees he earned in past lives.
And this is where the text really requires you to suspend disbelief and just engage with his worldview. He isn't listing these as, trivia. He's listing them as the source of his data. He believes his wisdom comes from a soul resume.
And what a resume it is. I mean, let's just run through this list because it sounds like the casting call for the most chaotic action movie ever made. First, he mentions living as a black slave,
Which he connects directly to his psychology in this current life. He admits to having a deep inferiority complex when he was young, and he diagnoses that not as a modern neurosis, but as a hangover from that past life.
A hangover, yeah, where he was continually told I was inferior. It's an attempt to explain present-day trauma through a metaphysical lens.
Right.
Okay, but then we take a sharp left turn. He claims he was an Asian sword fighter. Specifically, he uses the word ninja.
The warrior archetype. Discipline, stealth, combat.
Followed immediately by an Australian cowboy.
The frontiersman. Rugged, alone in nature, surviving against the elements.
Then a Native American chief.
The leader. Responsibility for the tribe, connection to the land.
And finally, a Mayan shaman.
The mystic. the one who bridges the worlds. Now, stop and look at that list for a second. It's easy to chuckle at the ninja cowboy combination.
It does sound like a Halloween costume aisle.
It does. But structurally, it's not random. He's covering the entire spectrum of human experience.
Break that down for me.
Well, think about it. Subjugation and suffering, that's the slave. Combat and physical mastery, that's the ninja.
Right.
Exploration and independence, the cowboy. Leadership and social responsibility, the chief. And then finally, spiritual authority with the shaman.
So he's essentially claiming to have completed the full curriculum of humanity. He's telling the audience, I have been everything.
Exactly. He's saying, I have seen the world from every possible angle, from the bottom of the hierarchy to the top, from the physical battlefield to the spiritual realm. He claims he knows the truth, not because he read a book, but because he has tasted enlightenment across centuries. He's positioning himself as the ultimate guide because he's walked every path.
It's the argument of authority via experience. Don't trust the data. Trust the guy who's been the chief and the slave. So we have this ninja cowboy scientist guiding us. What is the core problem he thinks we have? Because he seems to think we're all broken, or at least that we've forgotten something massive.
He thinks we've been lobotomized, essentially. Not surgically, but culturally. The core of his message really centers on childhood. He argues that society effectively trains us to ignore the inner world.
I think we can all relate to that on some level. I mean, you look at a 5-year-old, they are living in a world of absolute wonder. A cardboard box isn't a box, it's a spaceship. The shadows in the corner aren't a lack of light, they're monsters. But Charles goes further than just saying kids have good imaginations, doesn't he?
He does. He argues that for a child, the hidden world isn't imaginary, it is visible. He suggests children are actually perceiving this energy layer, this inner reality. But as we age, the training of society takes hold.
The program.
We're told to focus on the physical, the tangible, the productive. Stop daydreaming. Focus on your homework. Look at what's in front of you.
Right. We get programmed to filter out the magic.
Exactly. And as a result, that inner world becomes faint. It loses its magic, its mystery, and its power. It's a story of loss. We trade magic for efficiency.
And Charles argues this trade is a really bad deal. He claims that by shutting down that inner vision, we lose actual tangible power. He believes that if you can bridge that gap, if you can be an adult who accesses that childhood world, the results are massive.
The promises he makes are significant, yeah. He says that once you reintegrate that inner world, you receive constant guidance. You're led step by step to your best self.
It's like a fail-safe mechanism for life. If you listen, you cannot fail.
That's the idea.
But then he lists capabilities that sound like they belong in a sci-fi novel. He says you can manifest anything imaginable. Okay, standard self-help stuff. But then he says you can travel anywhere in the universe via consciousness.
That is where he pivots to the metaphysical. He's talking about non-local consciousness. He claims you can speak with others, implying, telepathy or communication on a spiritual plane. And maybe most practically, he says you can test ideas and survey challenges before they happen physically.
That part fascinated me. It's almost like running a computer simulation. He's saying you can run the life simulation in your head in this inner world, see the outcome, and then decide whether to do it in real life.
Precisely. It's the ultimate risk management tool. Instead of trial and error in the physical world, which is slow and expensive and painful.
It's so painful.
Right. You do the trial and error in the energy world. You scout the territory before you march the troops.
And he includes physical benefits, too. Healing the body and finding love. It's this all-encompassing promise. Yeah. Fix your health, your relationships, your understanding of the cosmos, all by accessing this lost inner world.
It connects back to his scientist-inventor persona. He views consciousness as a technology that we have just forgotten how to use.
It sounds amazing. I mean, who wouldn't want to travel the universe from their couch or know if a business deal will fail before signing the paper? But here's the rub, and the text is pretty clear on this. The world we actually live in right now doesn't feel like a magical playground. It feels messy. It feels loud.
Charles agrees with you. He describes the current world as extremely chaotic and disruptive.
Which, looking at the news or just scrolling through social media is a fair assessment.
And that chaos is the reason he argues this work is so critical. He says if you are feeling off, if you are feeling battered by that chaos, you need to carve out a healing space. But he uses a very specific and somewhat strange metaphor for how we do that. He talks about eating.
Yeah, this eating concept took me a minute to wrap my head around. He says, think of life like a stream of energy or food.
It's a shift in perspective. Most of us see life as a series of events happening to us. A car crash, a promotion, a rainy day. Charles asks you to see life as a stream of energy flowing through you. You are a conduit.
And just like you choose whether to eat a fresh apple or a handful of dirt, he says you must set an intention to eat as much light and nourishing energies as possible.
Eating light?
Eating light. It sounds very new agey, but let's try to decode that for the listener who might be rolling their eyes. When he says eat light, he's really talking about information, isn't he?
That is the technical translation, yes. In his model, energy equals information. If you consume low-quality energy, fear, anger, sensationalist news, gossip, you are consuming low-quality information. Your system gets clogged. You feel heavy.
But if you eat light, which I guess means high vibration energy, positivity, truth, your view rises. He uses the analogy of height, like climbing a mountain.
Exactly. Imagine you're in a maze. That's daily life. If you're on the ground, all you see are walls. You're stressed, you're lost. That's low energy. But if you eat light, you grow taller. You rise above the maze. Suddenly, you can see the exit.
You can see the path.
You can see the path. That is what he means by expanded consciousness. It's not just feeling high. It's having a better vantage point.
And having a better vantage point gives you access to what he calls riches.
Right. And he clarifies he's not just talking about a bank account, though he admits money is a useful tool. The real riches are the information itself. Knowing where to go, knowing what to do, becoming what he calls a magical being.
It's interesting how he contrasts this with traditional education. He basically says, what you learn in school, what your parents taught you, that was the basic curriculum.
How to survive in the maze class.
Exactly. And this is the how to fly above the maze class. It's the difference between survival and transcendence.
He's arguing that we are overeducated in how to be workers and undereducated in how to be magical beings.
Okay, so we're eating light, we're rising above the maze, we're becoming magical beings. But the text doesn't say this is easy. In fact, he takes a bit of a darker turn, or maybe just a more serious one. He warns that Earth isn't just a playground.
No, he is very clear. Ignorance is a liability. If your spiritual eye is closed, you aren't just missing out on the fun stuff, you are walking blind into traffic. He explicitly states, Earth is a school.
I've heard the Earth School analogy before. It's pretty common in spiritual circles, the idea that we're here to learn lessons.
True, but Charles really emphasizes the testing aspect of the school. He says you will be pushed, pulled, etc. The chaos of the world isn't an accident, and it's not a punishment. It's the curriculum.
So the bad days, the struggles, the push and pull, that's the exam.
That's the exam.
Yeah.
The test is, can you maintain your connection to the hidden world even when the physical world is going completely crazy?
And this is where he drops a pop culture reference that I absolutely loved because it instantly makes the concept clickable. He compares this alignment to the Force from Star Wars.
It's a brilliant shorthand, really. You don't need a degree in theology to understand the Force. It's an all-encompassing energy field. It binds the galaxy together. It has a light side and a dark side.
And Charles claims that if you align with this power, this love, it is greater than anything anyone can do to you. He gets pretty absolute here. He says if you have this alignment, you are safe from everything, even death.
Even death, he says. He frames physical pain or death as brief, fleeting moments, but the everlasting life of the consciousness as the true reality. He's saying, don't worry about the vehicle, worry about the driver.
And this leads to his biggest, most controversial theological assertion. He doesn't just say you're loved by God. He says you are a God.
He does.
Whoa. Okay, let's pause on that, because for a lot of people, that is blasphemy. For others, it's extreme narcissism. How does he justify the statement, you are a God?
He nuances it using the metaphor of the mirror. He says, you are created in the image of God, right? That's standard scripture. But he interprets image literally. If you stand in front of a mirror, the reflection is you. It's not separate from you. In his view, we are the reflection of the Creator. We are the divine mirror.
So we are the glass reflecting the light.
Exactly. And because the image in the mirror has the same attributes as the object casting the reflection, we possess the same God stuff. We just forget it. We think we're the mirror frame, but we're actually the reflection.
And how does he describe this creator? Because it's definitely not the old man with a beard sitting on a cloud.
No, he strips away the anthropomorphism entirely. He refers to God as IT, capital I, capital T. He explicitly states God is neither male nor female. It is a genderless, energetic force.
IT. It feels a bit impersonal, doesn't it? Like calling your mother the entity.
It can feel cold, but his point is to remove the limits we put on the divine. If you call God he, you've already limited it. IT suggests something vast, incomprehensible, and purely energetic. And he claims this IT is constantly communicating with us. But the problem is, we're waiting for a text message and God is sending a radio wave.
This is the language barrier. We are obsessed with words. Man-made symbols, he calls them.
That's the barrier. Charles argues that the divine speaks in energy first, words come second. Words are clumsy, they're low bandwidth. Energy is high bandwidth. So if you're waiting for a burning bush or a booming voice to give you instructions in English, you're going to miss the message.
That explains why he put so much emphasis on the heart. I always thought listen to your heart was just a cliche for do what feels good.
In this framework, it's technical advice. The brain processes the symbols, the words, the logic, the math. But the heart processes the energy. The heart is the receiver. He says being in touch with your heart is critical because that is the decoding device for that energy-first language.
So let's tie this back to the Earth School idea. The test isn't a math problem. The test is a tuning problem. Can you quiet the noise of the man-made symbols, the news, social media, the gossip long enough to hear the energy speaking to your heart?
Precisely. It's a test of signal-to-noise ratio. Can you tune out the chaos and tune into the guidance?
And he says this guidance covers everything, every action, every thought, every move. That is intense. It feels a bit like having a backseat driver, even if it is a divine one.
It implies a total lack of privacy, certainly. But flip that coin. It also implies a total lack of abandonment. You are never alone in the decision-making process. Charles notes that you are free to block this guidance. You have free will. You can choose to ignore the force. You can choose to eat the dirt instead of the light.
But he seems pretty confident that eventually we'll get on board. He doesn't think we'll resist forever.
He believes resistance is temporary. His argument is that once you truly understand the source of the guidance, once you realize that the mirror is trying to help the reflection, you'll realize it has your best interest at heart. It's not a tyrannical God giving orders. It's a benevolent force trying to help you navigate the school.
It's the idea of inevitable alignment. We can fight it, we can delay it, but eventually we will want the help because we'll get tired of crashing into walls.
Right, because the alternative is stumbling through the dark when you have a flashlight in your pocket.
So let's recap this journey because we have covered some serious metaphysical ground. We started with Mark Charles, our Ninja Cowboy Scientist guide, who tells us we've been trained by society to ignore our natural psychic abilities.
He argues that by reintegrating that inner world of childhood wonder with our adult lives, we unlock capabilities like manifestation, consciousness travel, and deep healing.
To do this, we need to treat life as a stream of energy or information. We need to actively eat light, choose high-quality energy to raise our viewpoint above the maze.
And finally, we need to recognize Earth as a school where we are tested. We need to remember that we are mirror images of a genderless divine force that communicates through the heart via energy, not words.
It's a lot to take in. It's a worldview that asks you to completely reimagine your relationship with reality. Instead of a physical world where things happen to you, it's an energetic world where you are a powerful, magical participant, if you can just remember how to see it.
It's empowering, but let's be clear. It places the responsibility squarely on the individual. If the guidance is always there and you aren't hearing it, the text suggests the blockage is on your end. You can't blame the radio station if your receiver is turned off.
That is a tough pill to swallow, but also a hopeful one. It means the solution is within us, not out there somewhere waiting to be found.
Exactly. That puts the keys back in your hand.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought derived from the source material. Mark Charles asserts that one day, you will always choose to take the guidance because you'll finally realize it's purely for your benefit.
It's the ultimate surrender to your own best interest.
So here is the question for you to mull over as you go about your day, driving your car or washing the dishes. If there is a voice or an energy inside you that knows exactly how to lead you to your best self, what is stopping you from trusting it right now? What are you holding on to? What fear, what doubt, what training that makes you block that guidance?
That is the ultimate question of the Earth School.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the hidden world. Keep eating the light, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.